funny thing about losing a football match, I can get really annoyed, right? And by maybe the next morning, I've calmed down a little bit and I'm starting to view it, maybe more long-term or through slightly more analytical eyes. That's not what happened last night. Last night, I wasn't angry. And this morning, I'm probably more concerned or irked, if you want, than I was last night, which is actually, I think, is worse than being really angry after a defeat and calming down the next day. Because actually, after a night's sleep and after reflection, it doesn't really look any better at all. I've not had this calming down period. In fact, there's been a bit of confirmation which has been layered in. Now, last night during Monday Night Football, as soon as the game ends, I come down here, I record a video. That's the video that maybe you watched last night, or maybe you watched it early this morning. You probably had enough last night, didn't you? Whilst I was down there recording the video, Monday Night Football, they put up a statistic, which was shots and shots on target since Graham Potter took over the West Ham job mid-January. We're bottom out of everybody. Ipswich, Leicester, Southampton, they all have more shots than us and more shots on target than us. I'm not going to go through the statistics because they just don't make for a good video unless you can put graphics up and all the rest of it. So I'll leave that to somebody else, right? Suffice to say, we are the worst. We're bottom of the pile. They did a league table up on the screen. I wasn't aware of that until this morning. Saw it pop up on social media. I'm not surprised. I think that's the thing. I'm not surprised. Not surprised and I'm not angry, but I'm a little bit annoyed about it, truth be known, because look, Potter has come in at West Ham, and when he came in, he said a load of things. One of which he said he was going to build closer ties with the academy. He's absolutely done that. Absolutely done that. Brilliant. But he also spoke about, and said a lot about the fans. You'll recognise the saying when I say it. That he thinks West Ham have got sensible fans. He thinks that West Ham fans understand. We're knowledgeable. We're cultured. We understand football. We understand what they're trying to do, what he's trying to do, but also indicated that he has to win our trust. And he's very much said, I've got to win their trust, and I've got to give them something to get behind. Potter has come in and he's undoubtedly fixed a leaky defence. So in our last 3 games, we have played Newcastle, we have played Leicester, and we have played Arsenal. So I think you've got almost a full barometer there. I don't think that was Newcastle at full kilt, by the way. And I said that in yesterday's video. But I think over those 3 games, we conceded 1 goal. You can say, okay, yeah, that's great. And whilst Areola did make 3 decent saves, one of them was a deflection off of our defender, we're not having our goal absolutely peppered with chances. So I think he's fixed the defence. I think what's happened as a result of him fixing that defence is it's just horrible to watch. I can't stand watching it, actually. It's awful. It is actually awful. And it brought something back to me, which was maybe, just maybe, this is the best he can do with these players. And when I say maybe, I say that as mitigation. I don't actually really believe it, but I'm going to offer that up to him. There is a school of thought which suggests that actually these players can do nothing but that. I'll give you some evidence to support that. Remember David Moyes' 22-23 season? He decided, we just bought Lucas Paqueta. He decided he was going to play a more expansive game. He was going to get us on the front foot. We're going to pass it around more. It was a disaster. It didn't work. We were awful. In the end, he reverted back to basically Moyes ball, if you want. Moyes ball, realistically, in the last season stopped working because the defence stopped functioning. And that is partly what Potter's trying to sort out. So anyway, Lopetegui came in. He thought, I'm going to get this team playing. It didn't work. The moment he got the team on the front foot, we were getting loads of chances. I think we had 3 games where he created more chances. I think the game against Bournemouth was a record high for chances created. There were a couple of other statistics which I can't reel off the top of my head, but we were creating lots and lots of chances. My word, we were leaking goals. We were leaking tons and tons of goals. It was not a pretty sight at all. So there's some evidence there to suggest this bunch of players can't do that other thing, which means we're going to need a massive squad overhaul. We're going to need a massive overhaul. I'll tell you now, he's not going to be able to do it. He's not going to have the money to do it, so he's going to need to come up with something else. Now, here's the thing that has got me slightly concerned. Because Graham Potter has done this sort of thing before. He's taken over from Chris Hughton. I've spoken about him a few times. Very much a pragmatic manager, very functional. And what Potter did, he took over there and he got these players like Lewis Dunk. It turned Lewis Dunk into a cultured player who's bringing the ball out from defence. He basically started changing the style. Maybe, just maybe, he's done that a little bit. We're passing it around more. We have more possession than we had before. But a lot of that passing is just being passed back to the keeper, who then hoofs it up the pitch. I just don't get that. I don't get that tactic at all. And then you've got the situation which I referred to at the start of the video, which is what we see before our eyes. The eye test is, oh, hold on, we're not having many shots. We're not really troubling the opposition. That eye test gets confirmed with data, which is what Sky Sports popped up on the screen. Since Graham Potter took over, West Ham are the worst attacking team in the Premier League. You can cut and slice it up how you want, however you want to explain it. Least shots on target, least shots. I don't think there's any coming back from that, really, is there? And I just go back to what Potter said about building trust with the supporters, giving the supporters something to get behind. That's a tough one. That's a tough one at season ticket renewal time as well. And whilst, like everybody else, look, West Ham can't keep changing manager. All right, we really can't keep changing manager all the time. At some point, we're going to have to back someone, and it may be a long process. And I think this will be the case with Potter. I think it will be a long process. But what is weird is we seem to have a situation where he's just getting through to the end of the season. So it's almost, I don't know if you think the same way, but it's almost like he's going to start next season. All right? So for the remainder of this season, he's going to carry on with those stodgy tactics. It's like watching players run through treacle. It really is. This gloopy, pragmatic, boring, no chances created, no striker. This football that we saw last night, and to be fair, we won against Leicester, but we saw it against Leicester as well, right? We're going to play like that until the end of the season, and then what's he going to do? He's going to flick a switch? I expect him to be better than that. I expect him to incrementally start working on it now. We are, what are we, 16th? Are we 16th? I think we are in the Premier League. That's about right. That's as good as we are. We might get to 15th. That's about right. You start looking at these other teams. You look at Crystal Palace, how far up the table they've gone now. We're a million miles away from those teams because they've got fast teams. We have a slow, stodgy, ponderous team. We really do. An awful midfield. I'm going to say it, an awful midfield. And whilst Potter was not my choice, I mean, anyone that watches videos and watches this channel for long enough will know. My three choices I thought were Silva. I thought Silva was gettable. He had an £8 million buyout clause. It was Silva, it was Iraola, it was De Zerbi. De Zerbi's obviously unrealistic, but those were the three that I would have gone and got. However, Potter, what I didn't expect was this from Potter. I sort of, when he came in, I thought, okay, this is decent enough. I just want to see incremental improvements. I don't really see the point of, do you know what, just shut up shop and just get towards the end of the season, because it's miserable. I'm sorry, that is miserable football. And there's so much of it I don't understand. I don't understand this desire to get Evan Ferguson as our top January transfer target. And then don't play him. That's odd. He needs to start playing him. I don't understand this hoofing back to Areola and hoofing it long. He's not the goalkeeper for that. Actually, his distribution with his throwing is very good. But he's kicking. He's passing it around the back, passing it back to the goalkeeper. This is not what I was expecting. It has to be said. And I do expect better than that. I really do. For the money that we have invested, even look at the money we've spent on our defenders. Loads of money. Kilman cost a fortune. Todibo cost a fortune. You know, Wan-Bissaka, all right, he didn't cost a fortune, but he's a good defender. Do we have to keep passing it back to the goalkeeper, who then surrenders possession, hoofs it up there? Or if you're going to hoof it up there, put the big fella on. Put a target man up there. At least hoof it up to Ferguson. That would be something. So a lot of what I'm seeing doesn't make sense. This midfield. So here's the thing. If we are to believe, and I probably do, that actually a combination of Alvarez, Ward-Prowse and Souček as a midfield three can only play one way, okay, I'll accept that. We'll change it. Change some of the personnel. Have Alvarez at the back as your one holding player, and do something else. Make sure Paqueta's in there. Maybe put Soler in there. Maybe bring one of the youngsters in. This is the thing. No one's forcing Graham Potter to play those three central defenders. They are really hindering us. I've seen the under-18s play recently. I've seen the under-21s play. Get a quick player. Get a quick player out there and inject some pace into the team. It's slow. It's ponderous. And yes, he did have a very short amount of time to assess things in January, and he's decided against it. I'll tell you now, that Banzuzi was gettable. And I think someone like him, I'm not suggesting he's the best player in the world, but I think West Ham bid something like £11 million for him or something like that. We probably could have gone back and got him for 15, 16. But he would have injected some athleticism into the midfield, which we just don't have. And he needs to understand, Potter is intelligent, really bright, a very, very bright man, no doubt about that. And I like him. I like a lot of what he's done. But he also needs to understand, use that intelligence and apply it. Look at the West Ham fans. He did get the job because Lopetegui seemed to be completely incompetent, but he also should look back and look at one of the reasons why David Moyes was so often under scrutiny. You can play defensive football, you can play football and just try and nick games 1-0. You can do that. But you probably can't do it at a club like West Ham, who have moved from and I know we've moved a long time ago now, and people say stop talking about it. I am going to talk about it. There you go. So it's a YouTube channel. I'm here to talk. If you're going to try and get a fan base to move from 34,000 to 66,000 or whatever the capacity might be, you need to offer something up. You need to give people an incentive to turn up. You can't offer that stodge, and it is stodge. So I'm pleased he sorted out the defence. Well done. Well done. He's sorted out defence, but at the expense of not just scoring goals, like creating whatever it was. We are averaging, I said I wouldn't bring the stats up, maybe I should have had them up in front of me, but we're averaging, I think, is 2.4 shots on target a game. We have less than 10 shots per game off target or whatever, all shots combined. It's the worst in the league. You want to be trying to get that up, right? Well, I couldn't believe that we played two attackers. I know I'm repeating myself from my review last night. You can make the case that Thomas Souček can attack and score goals. Yes, he can. But he's not an attacker. He is a midfielder. You can make the case that Aaron Wan-Bissaka can attack. But he is a defender. He's not an attacker. He's a defender who's turned out to be far better at attacking than we thought. But we started with two attackers, and if what you're doing is relying on Thomas Souček to gate crash that box when there's no supply line anyway, and then a defender to constantly open up an opposition backline, you could just forget it. And I understand why we'd had 2 wins back to back, and I've got to say that I did understand why he played the same team. I didn't think it, as you'd seen from my video which I produced yesterday morning. I thought he'd show a little bit more. It's not even ambition, it's adventure. And I think that's the thing that looks like it's been lost from Potter. It's the adventure. It's to go out there and to try and win a game. And he did it late. Yeah, fair enough. But it was too late by then. And too much of it gets masked by, was there a push on Kilman? A little bit. Not enough. Not much. I'd expect us to push like that. The Jarrod Bowen one, maybe. We did not. It would be wrong to focus on that, and I hope nobody is. I hope nobody at that club, I'll talk West Ham, is saying, oh, we would have won that game if it wasn't for 2 referee mistakes. No. No, Newcastle deserved to win that game. We were the ones that lacked any sort of ambition at all. Yeah, not impressed with that. I'm not impressed with what I've seen at all. Things are going to need to change. He cannot get away. He cannot get away with playing 2 attackers. And quite what Evan Ferguson must think about it, I don't know. Graham Potter really wanted him. Not Southampton, Brighton didn't want to lose him, apparently. They were going to keep him on. Brighton must be looking at it thinking, well, he could have done this with us. But he really pushed it through Ferguson. I want to work with Potter. I've worked with him before. He was so desperate at the end. See that ridiculous shot he took? That is a man who knows he has got minutes to make an impression, not somebody who's been given a chance. I just think from Potter, I want the rebuild to start now. I absolutely do. And can he do it wholesale? No, probably not. But he could start by changing one of those midfielders. He could start by bringing another person in from the academy and letting him play. He could start by playing a striker. I don't think there's too much appetite to see too many more games like that. I really don't. And by the way, this is not even just West Ham. This is one point I want to make. What's even West Ham fans particularly saying to start off with, this was Sky Sports picking up on this. I hope he has asked it. I'm sure he has got asked it, and I hope he rectifies it. Because this is just not good enough. Really, really isn't good enough. He's anyway. You get the general gist. I'm still a bit annoyed today.